The year was 2157, and the sky above Earth glowed with unusual lights. The aliens had finally come, not with weapons or threats, but with an invitation. They called themselves the Galactic Council, a group of 17 advanced alien species who ruled most of the Milky Way galaxy. For 6 months, Earth's leaders prepared for their first meeting with the Council. They picked their best and brightest to represent humanity. Ambassador Alan Wright had worked in peace talks between nations for 30 years. Commander Susan Miller was a decorated space pilot who had led the first mission to Mars's outer moons. They trained day and night to understand alien customs and to show humanity at its best. The day finally came. A sleek alien ship landed in a field outside of New York City. It was smooth and white, almost like it was made of pearl. It had no visible engines or windows, yet it moved with silent grace. Ambassador Wright and Commander Miller boarded with hope in their hearts. This was humanity's big moment, the chance to join a galaxy of wonders. The trip to the Council's space station took 3 days. The human representatives spent the time practicing their speeches and studying the bits of alien language they had been taught. They saw stars blur past at speeds humans had only dreamed about in science fiction stories. When they arrived, the Council station stunned them into silence. It orbited a star called Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth's sun. The station was massive, like a small moon, but clearly built by intelligent hands. It had rings within rings, all spinning to create gravity. Lights of every color sparkled along its surface. "It's beautiful," whispered Commander Miller as their ship passed through a force field and into a docking bay. "Let's hope they find us worthy," Ambassador Wright replied, straightening his formal suit. The aliens who greeted them were as diverse as Earth's animals. Some had too many eyes, others too many limbs. Some floated, others crawled. But the leaders, the ones called Zithrians, stood tall on 2 legs. Their skin shimmered with a blue-green light, and their 4 eyes blinked in different patterns. They wore no clothes but had marking patterns on their skin that seemed to shift and change. High Counselor Vexthar of the Zithrians stepped forward. A small device on his chest translated his clicks and whistles into English. "Welcome, Earthlings," the device said in a flat voice. "We have watched your planet for many years. Now we will decide if you are ready to join us among the stars." For 3 days, the Council questioned the humans. They asked about Earth's history, its wars, its treatment of the environment, and its use of resources. With each answer, the aliens' expressions grew darker. They showed particular interest in humanity's many conflicts. On the 4th day, the humans were called before the full council. All 17 alien representatives sat in a half-circle on raised platforms. The chamber was massive, with a ceiling so high it vanished in shadow. Strange plants grew from the walls, giving the air a sweet smell. Ambassador Wright felt a chill as High Counselor Vexthar stood. "We have reviewed your case," the alien leader said. "We find humans too violent, too unpredictable, and too ambitious to join our peaceful alliance." Wright stepped forward quickly. "Please, we have overcome much of our violent past. Earth is more united now than ever before. We have so much to offer." Vexthar raised a hand with 7 long fingers. On the wall behind him, images appeared. They showed Earth's ongoing conflicts, its polluted cities, its weapons. "These images were taken just days ago," said Vexthar. "Your kind speaks of peace while preparing for war. You talk of unity while remaining divided." Wright tried again. "We're still growing, still learning. With your guidance, no." Vexthar's voice was firm even through the translator. "Our judgment is final. Earth will be quarantined to its solar system for a minimum of 500 years. You may not use faster-than-light technology. You may not contact other worlds. You are denied all rights within the Galactic Council until you prove yourselves worthy." Commander Miller stepped forward angrily. "You can't just lock us away. Earth has a right to the stars just like any other world." Another council member, a being that looked like a mass of purple crystals, flashed with light as it spoke. "Rights are earned through maturity. Your species is still in its infancy, dangerous to others and itself." Vexthar nodded. "Return to your planet," Prove yourselves worthy over centuries, not mere diplomatic words. This meeting is over. Guards appeared to escort the humans back to their ship. As they walked, Wright and Miller saw other aliens watching them with mixtures of fear, pity, and disgust. The journey back to Earth felt much longer than 3 days. Wright spent hours staring out at the stars, knowing they were now forbidden. Miller studied the alien ship as much as she could, memorizing every detail of its design and function. "They think this ends it," she said quietly on the final day. "They don't understand humans at all." When they landed back on Earth, crowds had gathered to hear the news. The world watched as Ambassador Wright stepped to the microphones, his face grim. "The Galactic Council has denied our petition to join their alliance," he said, his voice steady despite his anger. "They have quarantined Earth to our solar system for 500 years. They believe we are too violent, too ambitious to join them." The crowd began to shout. News reporters pushed forward with questions. Some people cried, others yelled threats about the aliens. "But this is not the end," Wright continued, raising his voice above the noise. "This is just the beginning." In the days that followed, riots broke out in major cities across the world. Nations blamed each other for the failure. Some people feared alien invasion, while others wanted to fight back immediately. But as weeks passed, something unexpected happened. The shared anger brought people together. Old enemies found common ground in their rejection by the stars. For the first time in human history, Earth had a common goal that crossed all borders: to prove the aliens wrong. In a secret meeting in Geneva, leaders from every nation gathered. They formed a new world government, not based on countries but on humanity as a whole. They pooled resources and knowledge. "If they won't let us join their alliance," said President Maria Garcia of the newly formed Earth Union, "then we will build our own path to the stars, and one day they will regret turning us away." No one in that room knew how true those words would become. 10 years passed since Earth's banishment from the stars. The planet had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Old enemies became friends. Nations that once aimed weapons at each other now shared knowledge and resources. The common goal of reaching the stars united humanity like nothing before. In a massive facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked day and night. She had been just a young scientist when the aliens came. Now she led Earth's most important project. The room around her hummed with machines and glowed with screens showing complex formulas. "Run the test again," she told her team. Sweat covered her forehead as she watched the countdown. In the center of the room, inside a clear chamber, a small metal ball began to glow. It vibrated faster and faster until it seemed to blur. Then, with a flash of blue light, it vanished. Seconds later, a screen showed the ball appearing in a second chamber 300 miles away. The room erupted in cheers. Dr. Martinez let out a long breath. "It worked," she whispered. Then louder, "It worked." What the aliens didn't know was that humans had secretly recorded and studied their technology during the brief contact. The Council used energy-based faster-than-light drives, pushing ships through normal space at impossible speeds. But Earth had found a different way. Instead of moving through space, they learned to fold space itself. Above Earth, in the newly built orbital shipyard, Captain Daniel Ross walked the bridge of humanity's first true starship. The EFS Defiance was smaller than alien vessels, but packed with human innovation. Its hull was black, designed to avoid detection. Its engines combined the best of Earth's technology with reverse-engineered alien concepts. "Captain on the bridge," called out his second-in-command, Paula Johnson. The crew stood at attention. They wore blue uniforms with Earth's new symbol, a planet with wings, on their shoulders. Each had been chosen from thousands of volunteers, the best pilots, engineers, and scientists Earth had to offer. "At ease," Ross said, looking around at his crew with pride. "In 6 hours we make history. The aliens think they've contained us to our solar system. Today we prove them wrong." The launch was kept secret from the public. Only top government officials watched as the Defiance moved away from Earth's orbit. If the mission failed, no one wanted to give humanity false hope. "Prepare for fold, Captain," Ross ordered as they passed the orbit of Neptune. Let's see if Dr. Martinez's miracle works as well in deep space as it did on Earth. The crew strapped into their seats. The ship's engines powered up, creating a low hum that vibrated through the floor. Outside, space itself seemed to bend around the ship's hull. Stars stretched like rubber bands. Fold in 3, 2, 1. There was a moment of complete darkness. Even the ship's lights went out. Every crew member felt a strange sensation, as if they were being pulled in all directions at once. Then with a flash, normal lighting returned. Location? Ross asked, his voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Ryan Evans checked his screens. Sir, we're 20 light years from Earth. The fold worked. Cheers broke out across the bridge. Ross allowed himself a small smile. The Council's monitoring stations around Sol will have registered nothing. As far as they know, we simply disappeared. The Defiant spent 3 weeks exploring the new star system. They discovered a rocky planet rich with minerals that didn't exist in Earth's solar system. Most importantly, there was no sign of Council presence. Back on Earth, the successful mission changed everything. Plans for colonies were drawn up. More ships were built in secret. The Earth Union created a new branch of government, the Earth Expansion Agency. 5 years after the Defiance's first voyage, humans established their first colony on a planet they named New Horizon. Unlike Earth, which had become increasingly crowded with its 10 billion people, New Horizon had vast open spaces and untouched resources. Lisa Chen was among the first colonists. She stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement, breathing in air that no human had ever breathed before. The colony's buildings were mostly prefabricated metal structures brought from Earth, but already people were planning more permanent homes. Hard to believe we're actually here, said a voice behind her. Ben Miller, one of the colony's engineers, climbed the hill to join her. 20 light years from home, and the Council has no idea. Lisa nodded. My grandfather used to tell me stories about the stars when I was little. He said humans would reach them someday. He died before the aliens came. Sometimes I think that was a blessing. Look there. Ben pointed to where a group of children played in a field. They'll grow up knowing the stars are their birthright. No alien council can tell them otherwise. While the colony grew, Earth continued to advance. The fold technology improved with each passing year. New ships were built, each faster and more capable than the last. Secret mining operations brought back rare materials from uninhabited systems. 15 years after banishment, Earth operated 6 colonies across 7 star systems. Each was carefully chosen to avoid council detection. Each represented a victory against the aliens who had judged humanity unworthy. In a meeting room beneath what had once been the United Nations building in New York, Earth's leaders gathered to discuss the next phase of their plan. The room was secure, protected by layers of technology to prevent any possible alien surveillance. Admiral George Wilson stood before a holographic map showing known council space. Our scout ships have mapped these areas, he said, pointing to several regions. The council's presence is strongest here near the center of the galaxy, but their outer regions are lightly patrolled. President Richard Dawson, head of the Earth Union, studied the map. How many patrol ships do they maintain in these outer sectors? Few, replied Wilson. The council is overconfident. They believe their technology is superior to anything a primitive species could develop. They don't expect anyone to challenge them. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. For years, Earth had focused on escaping its prison and establishing colonies. But now, with growing resources and improving technology, some wondered if it was time for a bolder move. We should be careful, warned Dr. Martinez, now Earth's leading scientist. The Council has ruled for thousands of years. They must have faced challenges before. President Dawson nodded slowly. We will remain hidden for now, but we will also prepare. The time may come when hiding is no longer enough. As the meeting ended, nobody noticed a small light blinking on one of the scout ship reports. A strange signal had been detected near the edge of Council space. A signal that wasn't alien, but also wasn't human. A signal that would soon change everything. 30 years had passed since Earth's banishment. What began as a desperate effort to prove the aliens wrong had grown into something much bigger. Humans now lived on 17 planets across 23 star systems. Each colony thrived in its own way, developing unique cultures while remaining loyal to Earth. The human fleet had grown too. Over 200 ships now carried the Earth flag through hidden routes in space. They used advanced cloaking technology to avoid the rare council patrols they encountered. Major Ellie Johnson commanded one such ship, the EFS Explorer. Her mission was to map the edges of council space and find more worlds suitable for human settlement. She was 42 years old, born just after the aliens had judged humanity. Like many of her generation, she grew up with a deep distrust of the council and a fierce pride in human accomplishments. Sensors picking up unusual readings, Major, reported her navigator, Carlos Diaz. Looks like a small ship, but the design doesn't match anything in our database. Ellie moved to his station and studied the screen. The ship was indeed strange. It seemed cobbled together from different parts, not sleek like council vessels or practical like human ones. "Is it a council patrol?" she asked. "I don't think so. It's too small and it's not using any council identification signals." Actually, Carlos adjusted some settings. "It appears to be running from something." As they watched, a larger ship appeared on their sensors. This one was clearly council design, heavily armed and moving fast. "They're chasing it," Ellie realized. "The small ship is trying to escape." For years, humans had avoided any contact with alien life. Their orders were clear: observe, but never engage. Stay hidden at all costs. But something about the desperate flight of the small ship touched Ellie's heart. "Bring us between them," she ordered. "Ready weapons and shields." Her crew looked at her in shock. "Major," said Carlos, "our orders." "I know our orders." Ellie cut him off. "But I want to know why the council is hunting that ship. Proceed." The Explorer moved swiftly, using its fold drive to appear suddenly between the two vessels. Their sudden appearance startled both parties. The council ship immediately hailed them. "Unidentified vessel, this is council enforcement. You are interfering in official business. Move aside or be fired upon." Ellie took a deep breath. No human had spoken directly to a council member in 30 years. "This is Major Ellie Johnson. We noticed you chasing this vessel through neutral space. May I ask why?" There was a pause before the council ship responded, clearly surprised by dealing with an unknown party. "The vessel contains fugitive members of the Krell species who have stolen forbidden technology. This is not your concern. Move aside." Ellie exchanged looks with her crew. Stolen technology could mean many things to the council, who kept many races ignorant by design. "I'm afraid I can't do that without more information," she replied. "Perhaps we can discuss this peacefully." The council ship's response was immediate. A warning shot flashed past the Explorer's bow. "That answers that question," Ellie muttered. "Shields up. Fire warning shots. Let the small ship escape while we keep this bully busy." What followed was the first battle between humans and the council, in space. The Explorer was smaller but more maneuverable. The council ship had more firepower but was overconfident. They clearly didn't expect a primitive vessel to have such advanced shields and weapons. After 10 tense minutes, the Explorer managed to damage the council ship's engines enough to slow it down. The small vessel they had protected was long gone. "Let's get out of here before their friends arrive," Ellie ordered. "Plot a random course, then fold." The Explorer escaped without further incident, but Ellie knew she had just changed humanity's relationship with the galaxy. There would be consequences. 3 days later, in a distant star system far from council space, they picked up a signal. It was coming from a small planet with orange skies and 2 moons. The signal matched the small ship they had helped escape. "They're inviting us down," Carlos said, sounding surprised. "They're using a simple numeric code that translates across languages." Ellie made her decision. "Prepare a landing party. Full protective gear and weapons, but keep them holstered. We're going to make first contact." The planet's surface was rocky, with strange orange plants growing in twisted shapes. The air was breathable but smelled like cinnamon. The landing party walked carefully from their shuttle toward a small settlement built into the side of a cliff. As they approached, figures emerged from the buildings. They were about the size of humans but covered in scales like lizards. They walked on 2 legs and had 4-fingered hands. Their eyes were large and yellow, set in faces that reminded Ellie of Earth's dinosaurs. One stepped forward. Around its neck hung a device similar to what the Council used for translation. "I am Elder Shazatak of the Krell," the device translated in a flat voice. "You saved us from the Council hunters." "Why?" Ellie removed her helmet since the air was safe. "I'm Major Ellie Johnson of Earth. We helped because it seemed like the right thing to do." The alien's eyes widened. "Earth? The quarantined world? The Council speaks of you as dangerous children." "The Council doesn't know us very well," Ellie replied with a small smile. "We stopped being imprisoned a long time ago." Over the next few hours, the humans learned the Krell's story. They were one of many species the Council kept in check. The Council allowed them some technology, but prevented true advancement. They were studied, controlled, and used for labor. "They keep us primitive," explained Elder Shazatak as they sat in a simple meeting hall. "They allow just enough advancement to make us useful, but never enough to challenge them." "What was this stolen technology they accused you of taking?" asked Carlos. The elder gestured to a young Krell who brought forward a small device. "A medical scanner. On Council worlds these are common items, but when we asked for them to help with the plague affecting our children we were denied. They said we weren't ready for such advanced medicine." Ellie felt anger rising inside her. "So you took one?" "We borrowed one," corrected the elder. "We planned to return it after saving our children. But the Council treats any unauthorized technology transfer as a major crime." Back on the Explorer, Ellie sent an encrypted message to Earth Command, explaining what they had discovered. The response came quickly. "Return with full details. Bring Krell representatives if willing. Priority Alpha." When Ellie extended the invitation to Elder Shazatak, the alien seemed hesitant. "The Council has told many stories about humans. They say you are violent and unpredictable." "We are," Ellie admitted honestly. "But we're also compassionate and fair, and we know what it's like to be judged by the Council. Please come meet our leaders. If nothing else, we can help your people with medical technology." After some discussion among the Krell elders, Shazatak agreed to travel to Earth with a small delegation. What had begun as a simple scouting mission had turned into something much more important. The first alliance between humans and another species oppressed by the Council. As the Explorer folded back toward Earth, Ellie looked at the stars on her view screen. "The Council thought they were punishing us," she said quietly. "Instead, they might have created their own worst nightmare." 75 years had passed since Earth's banishment. What began as a small act of defiance had grown into something the Council never imagined possible. Humans now led what they called the Shadow Federation, an alliance of over 40 different alien species spread across hundreds of star systems. All of these races shared one thing in common. They had been judged, limited, or oppressed by the Galactic Council. Commander Lisa Baker of Earth Intelligence stood in a room deep beneath New Washington, the capital city of Earth. Wall-sized screens showed star maps, fleet movements, and data streams. Lisa was 50 years old, with gray streaks in her dark hair and eyes that had seen too much. For 10 years, she had led a special project to understand the Council's true nature. "Are you certain this information is correct?" asked President Frank Carter, studying the reports Lisa had prepared. He was a tall man with dark skin and a voice that commanded respect. "I've verified it from 7 different sources," Lisa replied. "The data came from liberated Council outposts, testimonies, from former Council servants and our deep cover agents. It all points to the same conclusion." The conclusion was shocking. Lisa's team had discovered that the Council's claims of creating a peaceful galaxy were a carefully crafted lie. For 12,000 years, the 17 founding species, led by the Zithrians, had maintained their power through deception and control. "They've done this before," Lisa explained, bringing up historical data on a screen. "Earth wasn't the first world to be quarantined. We were simply the first to escape without being detected." She showed the president evidence of how the council regularly tested emerging civilizations, deliberately failing those with the most potential. Species that showed rapid advancement, adaptability, or independent thinking were deemed unworthy and isolated or restricted. It was never about our violence or unpredictability, Lisa continued. They feared our adaptability. Humans can thrive in almost any environment, learn from mistakes quickly, and build on the ideas of others. These traits make us dangerous to a system built on keeping others down. Most disturbing were the records showing how the council extracted resources from unworthy worlds while presenting themselves as benevolent observers. Entire species were kept as living museums or used as test subjects for experiments. And no one ever challenged them? Asked the president. Many tried, Lisa said grimly. All failed. The council has overwhelming military power and thousands of years of experience crushing rebellions. But they've never faced anything like the Shadow Federation before. We're the first to unite the oppressed rather than fighting alone. 2 hours later, President Carter called an emergency session of the Federation Senate. Representatives from all 43 allied species gathered in a grand chamber. Some breathed different air mixtures in special suits. Others needed higher or lower gravity platforms. Despite their physical differences, they had formed a working government based on equal representation and mutual benefit. The Krell, the first species to join humans in defiance of the Council, now had 5 thriving colony worlds. The crystalline Vosh, who communicated through light patterns, had become the Federation's greatest scientists. The amphibious Narration provided the best pilots due to their natural ability to think in 3 dimensions. President Carter stood before them all, his face displayed on screens for those who could not see in human visual ranges. For 75 years we have built this alliance under the assumption that we are the rebels, he began, that we are fighting against a legitimate government that, while flawed, brings peace and order to the galaxy. He paused, looking around. At the gathered representatives, Commander Baker's evidence proves we were wrong. The Council isn't a force for good that sometimes makes mistakes. It's a system of control and oppression that has stunted the development of countless civilizations for millennia. Murmurs spread through the chamber as the evidence was shared on data channels. Some representatives had suspected the truth, but seeing proof affected them deeply. The Council speaks of peace while enforcing inequality, said Elder Kravtat of the Krell, descendant of the first Krell to visit Earth. They preach cooperation while ensuring some always remain below others. Luzor of the Vosh flashed patterns of anger and resolution. They denied us knowledge of our own history, claiming certain sciences were too dangerous for our minds. They feared our natural ability to manipulate energy fields. More representatives spoke, sharing stories of how the Council had limited their peoples. Some had been told they were too emotional for advanced technology. Others were called too aggressive or too passive. Always the Council positioned itself as the wise parent and everyone else as children. After hours of discussion, President Carter called for a vote. The question before them was momentous. Should the Shadow Federation reveal itself to the galaxy and directly challenge the Council's authority? This isn't a decision to make lightly, he warned. We've built our strength in secret for decades. The moment we reveal ourselves, we commit to either victory or destruction. There will be no middle ground. The vote was not unanimous, but the majority was clear. After generations of hiding, the Federation would step from the shadows. In the months that followed, preparations accelerated. The human-led fleet, now joined by ships from dozens of allied species, conducted battle drills. Diplomatic teams prepared messages for worlds still under Council control. Intelligence agents planted final data-gathering devices in key Council facilities. On the planet Nexus, the newest Federation colony, Kevin Adams watched these preparations with a mixture of excitement and fear. He worked as a communications specialist, relaying messages between Federation worlds. He was part of the first generation born into the Federation, rather than just Earth or any single species colonies. It's really happening, he said to his co-worker, a Narine named Chalice. After all these years of hiding and building, we're going to face them directly. Chalice's gill flaps pulsed with emotion. My grandparents told stories of how the council limited our water rights on our homeworld, causing millions to die in artificial droughts. They said it was to teach us conservation. Kevin nodded. His own grandparents had told him stories of Earth's banishment. Every species in the Federation had similar tales. Do you think we can win? He asked. The council has ruled for 12,000 years. Chalice made the burbling sound that was the Narration equivalent of a confident laugh. That's exactly why they'll fall. They've forgotten what it's like to be challenged. They believe their own stories about their superiority. Above them, in orbit around Nexus, Federation engineers completed work on their newest warship. Unlike the Council's energy-based weapons, Federation ships used a combination of technologies from all member species. Some were advanced beyond what even the Council possessed. Admiral William Rogers stood on the bridge of the flagship, the EFS Justice. It was the largest and most powerful ship humans had ever built, but he knew the coming conflict would be decided by more than just firepower. The Council believes they're untouchable, he told his officers during their final briefing. Their greatest weakness is their own arrogance. For thousands of years, no one has truly challenged them. That changes tomorrow. As his words hung in the air, a communications officer approached with an urgent message. Admiral, we've received word from our agents. The Council has discovered one of our outer colonies. They're sending ships to investigate. Rogers straightened his uniform. Then it seems the timetable has moved up. Send word to all Federation forces. Operation Daybreak begins now. The time for hiding was over. The Shadow Federation would finally step into the light. 100 years had passed since Earth was banished by the Galactic Council. The day of reckoning had finally arrived. After decades of building strength in secret, the Shadow Federation was ready to reveal itself to the galaxy. Admiral Nicole Peters stood on the bridge of the EFS Justice, Earth's flagship. She was 55 years old, born into a world that already knew the truth about the Council. Her parents had been among the first humans to work alongside alien allies. Now she would lead the largest fleet ever assembled to challenge those who had judged humanity unworthy. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her second-in-command, Jack Wilson. 10,000 vessels across all sectors are awaiting your command. Nicole took a deep breath. The plan was bold but necessary. Federation ships would appear simultaneously above major Council worlds, installations, and the Council headquarters itself. It was not meant as an attack, but as an overwhelming show of force that could not be ignored. Send the signal, she ordered. Operation Daybreak begins now. Throughout the galaxy, carefully hidden Federation ships activated their full drives. In perfect coordination, they appeared above hundreds of Council worlds. The sudden appearance of so many unknown vessels caused panic across Council space. Emergency signals flooded communication channels. The Justice and its escort fleet emerged above the very station where humans had been judged a century before. It still orbited Proxima Centauri, a symbol of the Council's power and authority. They're hailing us, Jack reported. Their weapons are powering up, but they seem confused. I don't think they know who we are yet. Open a channel, Nicole said, straightening her uniform. It's time to introduce ourselves. On the main view screen, the face of a Zithrian appeared. Like those who had judged Earth long ago, this alien had blue-green skin and 4 blinking eyes. He wore ornate markings showing his high rank. This is High Counselor Mesvor of the Galactic Council. Your fleet is in violation of Council space. Identify yourselves immediately or face destruction. Nicole stepped forward where the alien could see her clearly. This is Admiral Nicole Peters of the Earth Federation ship Justice. Perhaps you've heard of Earth? You banished us a century ago. The Zithrian's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in shock. Impossible. Earth is under quarantine. You cannot have built starships, developed our own faster-than-light travel, established colonies across the stars. Nicole smiled. We did all of that and more while you weren't watching. The alien's confusion quickly turned to anger. You have violated Council law. Your quarantine was just and necessary. Your punishment will be... We're not here to listen to more of your judgments, Nicole interrupted. We're here to deliver a message. My ship will dock with your station. I and representatives of the Shadow Federation will meet with the full council in 1 hour. Refuse, and we will demonstrate that your weapons are no match for ours. To emphasize her point, a nearby Federation ship fired a precision shot that disabled a council defense platform without destroying it. The technology was far beyond what the council believed possible for lesser species. You would threaten the council? Mesvor asked in disbelief. We would invite the council to hear the truth, Nicole replied. 1 hour. Across council space, similar scenes played out. Federation ships demonstrated their superior technology with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying. The message was clear. This was not a random attack but a coordinated action by a power the council had never imagined could exist. 1 hour later, Nicole walked into the council chambers with representatives from 43 species that had joined the Federation. Some council members recognized the pattern immediately and reached for emergency protocols, but found their systems unresponsive. Your technology has been temporarily disabled, explained Luz Orr of the Vosh, light patterns flickering across her crystalline body. We come to speak, not to fight, though we are prepared for either. The council chamber looked much as it had when Earth was judged, a vast room with 17 raised platforms for the ruling species. But now, those who had once stood in judgment looked uncertain and afraid. What is the meaning of this? Demanded High Counselor Mesvor. How dare you invade our sacred chambers? Nicole stepped forward. We come not for revenge but for justice. Your empire was built on lies and subjugation. For thousands of years you've stunted the growth of countless civilizations, not because they were dangerous, but because you feared them as rivals. Here. Gestured and data began flowing to the council's screens. It showed evidence of council atrocities spanning millennia. Engineered famines to keep populations dependent, sabotaged technologies to prevent advancement, and entire species kept as living museums for council entertainment. These are lies, gasped a council member, a being made of shifting smoke and light. These are your own records, replied Elder Kravtat of the Krell, taken from your own secure archives. We have spent decades gathering this evidence while building a true alliance based on mutual respect. For hours, the Federation representatives presented their case. Some council members looked genuinely shocked at the evidence. Others seemed merely angry at being caught. It became clear that many lower-ranking council members had not known the full truth of their civilization's history. You speak of peace, Nicole continued, but your peace requires inequality. You preach cooperation while ensuring some always remain beneath you. Today that ends. High Counselor Mesvor finally found his voice again. How did you build all this without our knowledge? Our monitoring systems should have detected you. Nicole smiled. You told us we weren't ready for the stars, so we built our own path. You told us we were too ambitious, so we channeled that ambition. You banished us, thinking you were protecting the galaxy from humanity. Instead, you forced us to become its salvation. She turned to address all present. The Shadow Federation offers a choice to all worlds under Council rule. Join us as equals or remain with the Council. We will not force anyone to follow us, but we will ensure that the truth is known throughout the galaxy. The Council's response was divided. Some called for immediate military action, but others recognized the reality of their situation. The Federation's 10,000 ships had appeared from nowhere, using technology the Council didn't understand. Their weapons could disable Council defenses with ease. In the days that followed, the truth spread across the galaxy faster than the Council could contain it. World after world chose to join the Federation. The Council's carefully maintained barriers of fear and misinformation collapsed. Within months, the Council's authority had crumbled. The quarantine barriers were dismantled. Suppressed technologies were shared openly. Species that had been kept apart were finally able to meet as equals. 1 year after the Federation revealed itself, Nicole stood in the rebuilt Council chamber, now called the Senate Hall of the United Federation. Representatives from over 200 species filled the room, each with equal voice and vote. They meant to contain us, she said to her aide as they watched the proceedings. Instead, they created exactly what the galaxy needed. Earth, once judged unworthy of the stars, had become the founder of the galaxy's first true interstellar democracy. Not through conquest, but by offering something the Council never had: genuine freedom and equal partnership for all sentient beings. The humans had been banished by the Council, but in response, Earth had built its own unstoppable empire, one of liberation rather than control, and that made all the difference.